Hey, welcome to Crypto Esoterica. This is Charles, your host. This is part of the Crypto Casual. If you want, you can check out some of those videos. We'll put a link in the description below. If you catch the last few videos, if you haven't, I would recommend watching those before you watch this, because some of this may make sense, some of it may not. So I'd encourage you to. We'll put a link in there to another video too. I think my editor will put it in there at the end of the video, maybe to link on to some of the past ones. But anyway, Crypto Esoterica is all about, it's about 80% the esoteric and understanding energy, which Bitcoin is energy, is produced and created by energy. And for me, energy is consciousness. It is God. It is universe. It is whatever name you want to put onto it, but it is the properties that create all things, all matter, all antimatter, and so forth. But anyway, this channel is all about bringing the knowledge to those who are really hungry after serious knowledge, esoteric knowledge, how to manifest and all that good stuff. And it's also to bring cosmic drink to the thirsty. You know, a lot of things out there aren't quenching our thirst. The financial systems, the religious systems, the political systems, they're there to divide and to manage you. But when you're ready to manage yourself, is step up to the plate, and then you will no longer be thirsty. Your cup will overflow, and you will be able to share that wealth with other people. But today's topic is going to be, and basically we're using some mythological or religious texts. And in the Abrahamic religions, we have God, and God's creating in Genesis. God's creating the universe and so forth. And one of the verses is, and I'm just cutting that in half, is "and God spoke." And basically that was the vibration, the Big Bang, that created everything, or where everything came from, if you will, the thingness world. So where a thing came from, it came from the no thing, or the pre-consciousness, as discussed on previous videos, so I'm not going to go into it in this one. But in God spoke, but what we want to do is look at this from an electrical perspective, and that's what we do here in esoteric language, is we look at things not on face value, on form value. We look at the message behind the message, if you will, the reading between the lines, seeing the hidden messages in plain sight. And so when God spoke, we can also use that word spoke as a wheel. And so wheels have spokes. And so just like in cryptocurrencies, you have Polkadot, and Polkadot has a wheel, or it's the main hub. And from that, there's spokes. And then so in essence, Polkadot spoke. And so this energy spoke. And then on these spokes, then other parachains can get created, or chains can get created. And then on those chains, other parachains, so more things can get created from the creation, much like AI creates a robot, and that robot ends up building other robots. You see the pattern that I'm going here? Energy just creates more energy in many different forms. So where this is going to lead us in God spoke is basically a divine conversation, and we're going to break that word up a little bit. Di and vine. Di means two, and vine is the form of which the communication travels, or a conduit, if you will. And then converse is, we're going to today talk all about the verse, and that's going to include metaverses and universes and polyverses and all these other verses. And so we're really going to use this word today, verse, and this is going to be your sort of esoteric understanding of how energy moves, how it expands, how it turns into thingness, and then how it goes back into itself, collapses, destructs or destroys, and then goes back into nothingness. And this alternating pattern creates an alternating current. Make sense? And it's this alternating current that recharges. It is a resource. So call God or whatever, and you got to remember, God is this non-anthropomorphic. It is the entity that came out of the hierarchy, and the hierarchy came out of Shambhala, and then this, and then that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the last videos or two. So from that, the THAT, which we're calling pre-God, pre-energy, God is, or pre-God and pre-Shambhala is that. That is the esoteric generic term we're going to use right now. So that diverged, right? It was whole, and then it diverged. And di means, again, two, and then verge comes from the root word verse. So we had two verses, right? Which means we had a transmission and then a reception. And so if you're going to transmit your thoughts, you're going to receive those same thoughts back. And in regards to manifesting. So again, whatever you're manifesting, whatever's showing up in your thing world, It's you who created that thing, world. This isn't about blame or fault or shame or any of this or guilt or victimhood. This is about taking responsibility that the things that are in your life is because your electromagnetism is attracting it. And if you don't like what you're attracting, then change your transmission, change your thought, change your thinking process, open it, broaden it. And most wisdom, or all wisdom, at least in the esoteric, wisdom comes from the transmission of love, and primarily self-love. And if you don't have self-love, then you're going to miss all the opportunities. Again, an opportunity is a port for unity, for you to come back with a one verse, the uni verse. Uni means one. So we're getting back to the God spoke. And God spoke and sent out many chains, if you will, and then created parachains. And out of those parachains, humans came in the 7 frequencies. And we talked about the 7 frequencies in another video. Again, we'll put that in the link below. But then after God diverges, it eventually converges or converses. So we're going to have a divine conversation today. We're going to converse about energy or ions. Does that make sense? So with, verse, and ions. So we're going to have a two-way communication there. So we talked before about the field. The field is just unused or unpotentiated. Let me just make up that word. We unpotentiated, or there's not a potential yet on the energy or the field of ions until you arc them. And that's where the hierarchy comes in. You connect with the higher arcs, and then that arc is what stimulates or moves the field or moves God. Through Shambhala, so basically this, when we came out of that, we came into this world. So just like we're going in from this analog world, this human world, we're going into a metaverse world. And you have to understand how to manifest, how to create, how to make money, how to converse with other people, how to unify, how to create communities. Communities is just calm and unity, right? So just let's look closely at these words, hear these words closely. So this, that came out of that, is the field. And then from that field, then came a flow. That's Shambhala, that word. It means peace, right? A peaceful flow. And then you have the hierarchy. Now from the hierarchy, that's where the spark created. Out of spark, we have arc in that word, spark. And basically what it created was what we're going to call a spirali, the smallest component of a spark, right? Of electricity. And from that electricity, we also hear this term called light, heat, radiation. And this radiation is a force. It rotates, it moves, right? This is energy. It's always moving. If it's not moving, it's not energy, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But anyway, this creates a rotation, a revolution. And we are going through a financial, internal representation of our own lives in a revolution right now. A new revolution of energy is coming in, and it's a faster, hotter, more powerful energy. And it's up to us to take that new power and with responsibility, hone it to what it is we choose to have in our life. Not from lack mentality or poverty mentality, but because we just want it. Because you can have anything in this universe, but it's up to you to take it, command it, right? Co-and-mand it, right? So basically from out of the hierarchy, which is this energy, which is this radiating heat, this light, this electricity, right? There's energy, there's millions of names for it, but just energy. And then from that hierarchy, it created this God we're talking about, the God that spoke. And again, it's not a verbal language, it is a power of energy that is forming. And it forms into words, which we eventually know as words, or what you're hearing right now in this video. That is a vibratory, rotating energy that's coming from source, through me, and through you, and everyone. Everything that vibrates is a voice of God, is an extension. Now, in mythology, God couldn't speak directly to the people. His voice was too powerful, i.e. the electricity was too hot for the human shell between red and violet frequency. And so he had one of his sidekicks, if you will, we'll put it that way, and the name was Metatron. And so Metatron is the voice and the scribe of God, again, in religion and mythology. So Metatron, you also hear Metatron as a Metatron's cube or tesseract or the six-sided cube. There's a lot of mythology that goes with Metatron. But a quick story of Metatron is that basically it was the scribe again for God, taking down the divine knowledge. Well, archangels, right, as that arc, there's a certain amount of arcs that got created in a consciousness that got created that wanted that information for themselves. And then they basically stole it from Metatron. And then they were trying to kill Metatron because they didn't want him spreading the word, right? Or this new electricity, this new higher vibration of knowledge. And so basically Metatron basically hid himself in Native Americans or American or First People or Aborigines. Aborigines are just ab and original. That's what the word is, aboriginals or Aborigines. They were the original. So he hid himself among these people and shared God's divine knowledge to them through word, not written. And most native languages didn't have a written alphabet, not until later in 1800s, I believe. Y'all can correct me on that, all right, or leave me a comment and let me know the exact day. I just can't pull it out of my head. But anyway, so God is now a force. It is from Metatron's voice. It's like a megaphone. And it basically reduces pure energy and it steps it down. It transforms it, right? So it forms it into a frequency our human bodies can vibrate with. And it's up to us to raise our vibration, basically meet that energy in the middle. Make sense? So in Islam, one guy's name is Tetragramman or Grammaton. There's different pronunciations, but basically it's tetra means four. And gram or gram is the root word to grammar, and gram the weight. So God's voice is weighted word, if that makes sense. So it has energy, it has weight to it. Right? So everything that is it's the 99th name of God in Islam. And so Tetragrammaton is literally the weight, the measure of energy. And how we take on that energy, it will either weight you down or it will get you to speak or evolve your consciousness, if that makes sense. So basically, from this energy, God's name is basically HWHY, Yahweh. Right, and you can read it backwards or forwards, it doesn't matter. It's Yahweh or Yahweh, their current pronunciation. Basically, those letters, we talked about Paleo-Hebrew and Hebrew, and the last one's the Alpha and Bet. Well, some of the later letters come out and form God's name. It's basically the vowels that are pronounced like ow. That's God's name or vibration. That's why when people meditate, they do the ow or the om. Right, so really pay attention to the om in this conversation. That's an insider hint if you pay attention. But anyway, within God's name is the word Y, W-H-Y. And if you want to know anything about energy, you have to quest the ions or question. And so when we question, that has all the Y, the God's frequency. So every word that when we're asking a question has parts of God's name in it. So Y, W-H-Y, right? And then you have where, W and H, how, W, H and W, right? So all the asking words all have God's embedded, and that's the only way you get to know the knowledge, the esoteric knowledge. So you can begin to speak your own verse, your own words, your own perspective, and you do it with confidence. So basically, when God spoke, letters formed as we know them. Symbolic squigglies came together, and it's what we call alphabet today, or words. And from this, so basically God spelled us, if that makes sense. And so the spelling is just the alphabet coming together, and each letter has an individual frequency, and when they come together, it creates a different frequency. And from that's basically God's spelling. Right? So when you hear someone spelled you, it's in ancient mythology, they're just writing certain letters and then cursing you, right? But they're writing in cursive. It's not really a curse, but that's how mythology plays it out. It's not, they were just forming letters that then created a frequency, or God frequency, that aligned them to receive the divine knowledge. And that's a lot of what we have in religions are the priests, the monks, the people who are able to meditate, om, and all that stuff. They through their vibration, they are able to adapt or tap into the higher vibration. All right, and you can do the same. This is open to everyone. But if you're poverty mentality, or if you're threatened, if you're insecure, yeah, you can tap into some of this, but it may work for you temporarily, but it will definitely backfire on you because it's electricity. If you don't have the proper voltage or resistors in place, then it's going to come back to you full force. So just take that as a caveat. So yeah, basically letters like beta, gamma, kappa, rho, chi, these are some letters you want to pay close attention to in cryptocurrencies. Again, I'm not going to spoon feed you. You're going to have to figure out what I'm saying in through these words. Because if I give you the fish every day, you're not going to learn anything. So a lot of these gods in mythology then were on the Mount Olympus, right? And from the halls of Mars. For those who understand that, leave me a comment and see if you know what I'm saying there. So basically, God created the heavens and the earth. So basically, an atlas, a world. He created the stars and the moon, or it created stars and moons and rivers, the Euphrates and a few of the other rivers. This is all in the Abrahamic tradition of Christianity in their verse. So God basically is the verse, right? And then it then created a metaverse, and this word's very, very popular right now, but this is an ancient esoteric term. The metaverse then creates the universe, or the universe, what we are in the universe right now. We talk about the universal laws. We talk about the universe as a cosmological entity. But then from that became multiverses. And from the multiverse, because it divided, right? Remember that divided, it diverged. And from that diversion, we had two different streams. And so the opposite of verse is then adverse. And then so the adverse is where is adversity. So when you face adversity in your life, you're just facing the opposite of the divine, right? And we get words like shaitan, which is the Hebrew word for adversity or your adversary, right? And shaitan, as we know, as you probably figured out, is where we get the root word Satan from. And Satan is just the opposite. It is the destroyer, the trickster, but it's opposite of the verse, right? So in mythology, when we went monotheistic, those two were actually one entity, but then oddly enough, Christianity separated the two and made them two separate beings. But in every other religion, Shakti and all these other ones are all creator and destroyer into one. So if you understand that God is just, this energy is just one source, then to say that a head is a separate coin than tails, then it's not. It's all part of the same entity. So God and Satan are the same energy. It's just one is a verse and one is a adverse. One will repel things and one will attract things. Neither is good nor bad. There's certain people you want to repel out of your life, then you have to use adversity. You have to face your adversity and grow from that. But basically, so divergence, we basically, out of the divergence of that came the dimensions or dimens ions. So when we say the word dimensions or multidimensional, multiverse, this multidimensional is just two men's ions. So this is our awareness, our first step to tapping into the higher frequencies and being able to transmit to source the ionic field and then pull down and form and transform those energies into whatever form we want to here on Earth. And there's nothing stopping you or anyone from doing this. It just takes understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. Because the root word to wisdom, or witches, or those who are wise at their craft, which is wise at arcing, because there's arc and craft, they were wise at it. They weren't evil. That was just what someone else said they were, or any opinion it says that someone's good or bad. Again, because because we diverge. But now we're beginning to converge or have conversations now. Because everything's diverging in one sense in our society, everything's being torn apart, but yet at the same time things are coming together, much like the metaspheres and everything within the cryptosphere. Hopefully that's making sense, guys. Hopefully it's not too much too fast, but that's basically what this channel is about, to really get you in the framework and the alignment with this new energy so you can take full advantage of it, so you can be free and sentient, right, and take responsibility for it. So basically then God created heaven and earth. And so from heaven and earth, basically earth, in the word itself, the letters in, the vibrations in there, we can rearrange the word earth. And it came out of the aethers, which is also earth, because aether turned into ether, ether turned into the supernatural, the supernatural turned into the natural or the formed world that we live in today. And so in this metaverse called earth that we're already in, so basically we're just going to go into a metaverse, if that makes sense, or multiverse. So in the word earth is basically the word heart, and we know the root word to heart is soul. We also get the word art. This is where we get creatively and artistic. So in the crypto world and NFTs, it's all artistic. It's all beautiful NFTs and whatnot. we get the word hear. And in the word hear itself is ear, right? Just pay attention to these things, because if you're not hearing the frequencies being downloaded from the universe, you won't know what cryptos to buy, because the cryptos, again, are just an extension of the chain of God spoke, if that makes sense, or God speaking. So from all this, we just need to understand that there's adverse and converse. And if you have so much adversity in your life, it's because you're fighting the natural stream. And then it's giving you a reflection to get into the stream and then converse with the energy, converse with God, if that makes sense. But basically we get the words division, diversity, which is two lives, two energies. We want to unify ourselves with the same flow. Now, there's nothing wrong or right about adversity. Sometimes we have to take a stance against someone. Right? We have to be their adversary, right? But from that comes growth. So we have to destroy things, and then we have to create things, and then we destroy things. So it's chaos, order, chaos, order. So basically, understanding God speak, as we're saying it, this is a key to understanding cryptocurrencies, or the new evolution that's coming out, the new revolution, the rotation, the radiation that's coming out of this new technology, is the new higher frequency God 2.0. And so from the vibration of the universe, we get the flow of God's energy. And from that, you get your higher self. That is your higher self. It's your God self. It's your higher frequencies. It's you saying, I want more out of this life, right? Not blaming or faulting anyone because you don't have it. The only reason you don't have it is because you haven't done the work. You haven't done the study. And that's why I'm bringing this channel to you, to help you do that work. I'm here for you. I want to create a community that helps other people understand this divine knowledge, right? This two-way communication. So basically, we need to transverse, right? We need to transverse to a higher consciousness, and that is literally what's happening in our cosmology, in our universe today. It's going to a higher frequency. It's higher, it's faster, a lot cheaper. So hopefully that's helped you today to really understand crypto a little bit. And if you really watch this video over and over, I gave you about 10 different cryptocurrencies. So if you have any questions, comments, if you don't like this video, just leave a comment. Tell me why. If you love it, leave that like and subscribe and all that good stuff, guys. So I appreciate the time, and we'll see you next time.